Hi Stampers, it's Kevin. This is the video for the Happy Wishes to You and Yours card project. This is a fun little card design using the stamps and a little bit of the designer series paper that we've included. It's a clean, simple design. We're going to be using the large floral image stamp from the stamp set, as well as the Happy Wishes to You and Yours sentiment. And we are going to be using from the dies. Where is it here? There's so many dies included in this set. We're going to be using this large one to cut, and I've already cut and included in your kit a couple of pieces of white that are die cut, and I'm going to show you that you can stamp on a die cut piece. Normally you would stamp and then die cut it to make sure that you're lining it all up, but we're going to do it in the reverse and it's going to work. Just have to have a little bit of patience with it. So you're going to need that large stamped image, and you're going to need a fairly large block. You can, if you're careful, squeeze this stamp onto a regular D block, corner to corner, but some of it hangs over. So really this is the best size block to put it on. This is an E block. If you don't have an E block, use a Stamparatus. If you don't have a Stamparatus or an E block, do you know what works just as well? Is sticking it on the back of your stamp case. And just use your stamp case. But what I will tell you is that you probably want to open your stamp case so that you can press down on the inside, because they have a habit of kind of being very flexible in the middle, and if you just try to do this and push from the top, you're not going to actually hit anything and it's going to smudge. But in a pinch, you can use your stamp case as a block and do this. Kind of hard to see. Maybe you want to take the insert paper out so that you can see through it. Okay, just thought I'd pass that on as an option, because I know not everybody has all the big blocks. We are going to need Memento ink, and you're going to need the envelope that has the card pieces in it, and the simplest way to identify it is you're going to see the two green colored papers, and you're going to find two of these die cut pieces. Okay, where this is a photopolymer stamp, you are probably going to want a foam stamp pad as well, and I forgot to grab mine, so just give me 1 second. I have moved everything in my stamp room around because of on stage, and my entire team was here with me to do on stage, so my foam pads were just a little out of reach. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is determine which is the upside on your die cuts, and that's easy to tell because the die bevels the edge of the cut, and so you'll see there's a very thin little line all the way around the outside on what is the upside of the die. If you flip it over, it's going to be very rough on the bottom, and you're probably going to see some marks on the bottom of it from where it was on the cutting plate. So first we've got to find the up, then we want them both in the same position, and you can tell which direction the stamp will go on it, because there's this little tail down here on the bottom and this one off on the side that match the sort of feathery branch that comes down here and out here. The big flower is up here at the top point. Okay, so if you line them both up, and you line up your stamp, do this as a practice, try it out, lay it on there with no ink on it, and get the idea of how much white space there is around the outside of it when you look down through your block. Okay, and there should be a little bit of white space all the way around the stamp. And then the best way to ink up your stamp is to bring the ink to the stamp rather than the stamp to the ink pad. Okay, so I'm just going to put a good amount of ink, lots of little taps I don't keep my memento pad too juicy because I find when you're doing these nice outline images like this, you don't want a whole lot of ink because you don't want it to smudge. Okay. Forgive me if I get my head in the camera shot here, but it is easiest if you stand up and look down right over top of your image. But we want to get it in there as centered as we can. And then because you don't have a big piece of paper to hold down, you do have to pick it off and peel it away. So there we go. So we're going to do that again 2 times. Oop. Okay. Do this one. Whoops, got her upside down. Don't want to do that. And there we go. Come down. There we are. Okay. And I'm also going to do the sentiment stamp. There's a little die cut piece of paper strip for that long sentiment. Happy wishes. And I had a long skinny block for that, but it'll also fit diagonally across a standard D block. And we'll put some black ink on there. That is my crazy cat you hear in the background. If your strip is curled, curl it away just by running your finger on it so that it lays flat and doesn't jump up at you. Or when you go to bring your stamp block down, you might make a mess. I am not getting good ink on my stamp. There we go. Okay, so put that right in the middle like that. There we are. And that is our stamping done. So we'll put the ink away. I think I'll keep my pad out here just because it adds some good contrast to the white paper. I've got white paper, and white paper doesn't always give you a good idea. And now we're going to do some coloring. So I've got some Stampin' Blends. You can use colored pencils. You can use watercolor. You can, use however you want to do it. I'll tell you what colors I chose, but you choose colors that you have. I've got dark and light granny apple green for doing the large holly leaves because they're big enough. You can do some blending. I've got a real red for the little berries. Since the designer series paper is very monochromatic and is really only the soft seafoam, you can get away with any red. So cherry cobbler, poppy parade, real red, any red color for the berries is fine. Any green color for the rest of the greenery is fine. I'm using the shaded spruce, and I'm only using the light because it's too small to do any blending in there, really. If you want to try to blend, you're welcome to it. All the power to you. Do some blending. And then I chose yellow for the flowers. Now, the flowers could be... They're kind of poinsettia flowers. Not really sure that they are poinsettia, but whatever you like. I chose a yellow and an orangey color, so I've got a light mango melody and a light daffodil delight, and I am going to try to do a little bit of blending with that. I was just going for something with a variegated look to it. So we're only going to color in one full image, and we're only going to do the 3 large flowers and the 1 berry that happens to be right in the middle of the flower. On the second one, we're going to fussy cut that out. Okay, so let's start with that. So I'm going to use my Mango Melody and my, what was the other one I said? Daffodil Delight. So I'm going to go around the tips of my flowers. And I'm really just sort of scribbling on the tips. Because I'm going to blend this, pull the darker orangey color in with the yellow. And so I'm just going to do the tips, and then I am going to do all 5 little things in the middle here. Okay, same for the other flowers. So I'm just going to scribble on the tips. Just want them to look like the points are a little darker. And there's a little flower here. He's just going to get some V's on the end. Middle. There we go. And then I'm going to do most of my coloring, and I'm going to use the brush end with this one because I want lots of alcohol, and I'm more or less wetting and pulling in the color from the tips. And I'm kind of using a swirling motion to grab that color at the tip and swirl it in. Just like that. Okay. Then we're going to do the same thing on these three over here. Like that. Go. Then we'll do the large coloring. This really is easy coloring. It's just all about swirling. Swirling and keeping it wet. There we are. Okay. That's done. Now we do berries. So there's this one berry that's kind of like right here, right in the middle of that flower. So we can do both of those. And then this is the one I'm going to fussy cut. So I'm going to put that away over here for the moment. And I'm going to color all the berries on this one. And just look for the round shapes. Sometimes they crisscross over a little bit into the ones that we're going to color with the green, but for the most part, they're kind of on their own. There we go. And then I'm going to do these, not exactly sure what you call these, but they're kind of teardrop shaped leafy, branchy things. Sprigs. Okay. I don't know if I said, but I am using the little bullet end of my marker to do these because they're such fine little pieces, and the alcohol tends to run just a little bit when it touches the paper. So you don't need the great big brush tip to do it. Right, that's all of those. And then the last thing is the little hollies. So I'll use my dark granny apple green, and I'm basically going to do one side of the leaf right to the edge, and just kind of like almost like a bracket or a C. Not quite coming to the middle, but I am going to the tip. And then while that's still wet, using the bullet end again, I'm not going to go to the brush tip end. I'm going to do the other side complete, and then I'm going to swirl it in the middle, pulling that darker color in and mixing it. Swirly, swirly. And as you will see, it gives it just a little bit of, sorry, get this in the light here for you, gives it just a little bit of a variegated blending. Okay, so we've got all our pieces now. We're done with our coloring. Let's assemble our card. So you have a thick white card base. We're just going to fold that and burnish with our bone folder. Then we have a piece of, wanted to say Mossy Meadow. I can never remember the name of this. Soft seafoam. So there's a piece of soft seafoam. Just put some liquid glue on that. And that's going to go, I'm going to use my grid paper here to help me line this up. There we go, from top to bottom. And I like to stand my cards up and tap my paper down when it goes full from top to bottom, just to make sure that it's straight and even. And the liquid glue just gives me that extra second to move it around. Perfect. Okay, and then the piece of designer series paper from the Painted Christmas. And it's not particularly directional, and that goes on top of this with a 1/8 inch of the soft seafoam showing on either side. All right, then we're going to take our full flower image, and I'm going to orient it in the same way as I did before. And this is why we didn't color this directly on the front of the card or anything, is because the alcohol markers bleed through. So keep that in mind if you're going to be stamping and coloring this image on cards. You won't ever be able just to stamp it on the front of a card. You always have to do it as a layer and cut it out, because the alcohol will bleed through. So that one just goes on there like that. Then we're going to get our snips, and we're going to fussy cut for just a sec. Oh, there's one other thing we need to do. If you have a Wink of Stella marker, now's the time to pull out a Wink of Stella. Which again is on the other side of my crafting room now. Here we go. We're going to get our Wink of Stella marker. And I'm just going to go over that whole thing with the Wink of Stella. I know you're not going to see it on the camera, because the camera never picks up the glitter, but it really does make these flowers extra sparkly. And because the Wink of Stella is also alcohol based, it will blend your coloring a little bit more and make it just so beautiful. There we go. Okay, lots of sparkle on there. And then we're going to fussy cut this out. And it's mostly just peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys. Try to do it as one image, so you're not cutting out the 3 individual flowers. So you're going to see there's a little space in between the smaller flower and the bigger flower. That's okay, you just leave that because it's in the image that's underneath of it anyway, so it doesn't matter. And when you get to the two larger flowers, you just leave them connected on the point and cut around the berry. That's going to keep those together. If you want to cut them all out individually, you can. I just found it easier to keep them all together, and that helped me in positioning them when I stuck them on with the dimensionals. And I'm not too worried about whether or not I'm leaving the black outline, because again, this is going on top of the other image that's already there. So it's already going to have outline and whatnot around it, and the other image, the other part of the image that's there. This is very, very forgiving, very easy to do. The hardest part is just moving the paper back and forth as you're cutting. All right, coming around here. Oops. A little bump on that one. There we go. And this last little one. All right. That goes in the garbage. And then I am actually going to put this down and be very careful when I do it. I'm just going to take my bone folder and go over it to flatten it just a little, because as I was going around cutting, it was starting to get a little curved up. Okay, so we've got that piece and we've got this piece, and we're going to put a bunch of dimensionals on the back. Grab my small dimensionals. And I'm just going to spread them around a little bit like this. 2 on that one, there we go, that's plenty. And then 4 on the back of my sentiment strip. Get this out of the way, and now we can stick it on our card. Yeah, stick them all over me. All right. There we go. Get this right side up. And voila, we are done. So not too difficult a card to do. Soft colors, bright colors in the middle, but soft colors in the background, and easy enough to do. It's just with plain white card bases. So you have lots of other designer series papers in your pack, and I'm sure in your craft room you have white paper. And you probably have some other colored cardstock that you could use to give the border behind the designer series paper, and you could do this up with any of those beautiful designer series paper. Be sure to go to the bottom of this instruction page, find the Facebook button, Click on it. That'll take you over to the particular post about this card on our Facebook group, and we would love for you to share a comment. Tell us what you liked about it, and if you can, take a photo of your finished card and post it there for us. If you do decide to make alternate cards with another image, or to change the way that you did the image in some way, different color, different designer series paper, post your pictures there too. We would love to see what you do. Thanks, and continue crafting.